Sir, did you have any
Yeah,
questions?
just the curiosity is that we got 39 municipalities. Is that an average about what many of all towns have that kind of money?
No, it's not an average.
What's the average?
I couldn't tell you exactly, but it's certainly significantly less than 40 million.
In other towns?
In other towns, there are other towns that have significantly less cash than Madison.
You want to throw a number?
It wouldn't be fair to throw a number. Oh,
Mr. Cerciello?
I think you have to come up and say that
Say your
again.
name.
Sam Cerciello, Park Avenue. The question was, in the 39 municipalities, what's the average money that they have? And your answer was much less.
It is less. To what degree less, I couldn't say.
Dave, can I ask you a question? Is that a negative thing to have money in the bank?
Not as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions for the auditor? Thank you very much.
Thank you, and have a good evening.
Thank you. All right. Move on to, that's a bad one. All right. On to the bond ordinance regarding the joint meeting. This is listed for introduction. Who has the agenda of this item? Robert, would you please come to the lectern?
This bond ordinance is directly related to the improvements at the Madison-Chatham Joint Meeting Sewer Plant. Total amount is approximately $3.1 million. Our share of that is $2,161,500. This has been previously discussed by the governing body, and I recommend that we introduce this ordinance.
Does anyone have any questions on this item? From council?
The only thing I thought we probably should tell the public is exactly what we're doing to the joint, the improvements we're making, which is actually in the resolution or the ordinance, which is replacing the cover on primary digester number 1, cleaning of primary digester number 1 and the secondary digester, the installation of draft tube mixers on primary digester number 1, demolition of the existing underground concrete digester tank, installation of an isolation valve on control chamber number 1, the installation of a chemical feed system for phosphorus removal, replacement of the sludge piping in the digester building, and all related improvements and work materials necessary and suitable therefore. I think it's significant to let them know that, and this hasn't been done ever.
This is under the stimulus package.
Right.
Can you explain a little bit of how that works and they get 0% supposed financing?
The financing has not as of yet been specifically determined. We're going to receive funds, part of which will be at extremely low interest rates, and a percentage of the borrowings of the $2,161,500 will be at zero. That split has not yet been determined, nor has the interest rate been set.
Mayor, if I could add, we submitted our application, and Robert's on target. 75% would be at 0% interest as of the last word we received from the state. 25% at market. We were ranked 115th out of all the projects. There were hundreds of projects submitted throughout the state. The state, as of now, is only funding to number 94. If we get, if projects fall out of line because they're not ready to proceed, that are ranked higher than us, and we fall under 94, the entire amount here will be given as a grant. So our goal is to put the financing in place, but still pursue and try to move from 115 to below 94, and in that case, we would get a 100% grant. So that's what we're pursuing at the moment.
And these are all projects that are ready to go?
Yes. Well, yes.
And if I'm not mistaken, What we did at the joint meeting was accelerate a number of capital projects that we had on the drawing board over the schedule for work in the next 3 to 5 years because these funds had been made available. Part of the process requires us to introduce and pass a bond ordinance in anticipation of approval of our request for the low interest rates and no interest loans. We are not, however, obligated to proceed with the projects and the borrowing of this magnitude if we do not receive the stimulus money from the state. So this is kind of falls into the category of taking advantage of an opportunity, but not necessarily taking on extraordinary amounts of debt if the deal is not as advertised.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Sukumar, yes, thank you. And also want to comment that the $2 million and some dollars that we're stating here as part of the ordinance is the worst case scenario. We're hoping that it's going to cost less than that. Any other questions? The resolution to make an application to the local finance board, obviously related to this.
Yes. This is being handled by Steve Rogut, our bond counsel, and that's part of the requirements of this program where we must make this application for the 3 reasons that are mentioned in the agenda recommendation.
Which is a proposed bond ordinance without a down payment, participation in New Jersey Environmental Infrastructure Trust, and a maturity schedule for proposed bond issue for loans from the state program with principal amounts of annual installments that deviate from requirements. Can you talk a little bit about the deviation of what the deviation is?
On the maturity schedule, we are permitted, we're not permitted to make a principal payment that is more than twice the amount of another principal payment. We're asking for that. We did not seek that when we structured the $26.3 million bond issue that we issued. We did not back end all of that, and that's what this does. Now, this issue is a fraction of the $26.3 million bond issue. This one is only $2.1 million.
Okay.
This does not have serious financial consequences on the downside. If we were to seek it, if we were to have sought out a non-conforming debt schedule with the $26.3 million bond issue, we would have had to seek local finance board approval. And if Mr. Evans were still here, he would have told us that you would have most likely not have received, we would not have received that approval, since we have not issued that since 1991. They want us to, and the local finance board would have wanted us to submit a conforming debt schedule, which we did with our bond sale.